an old tire and sat on it, wishing for something to quiet the murmuring in his empty stomach. He'd been expecting cars and trucks for some time. Little Wound's school in Kyle would be opening, and it served not only Kyle, but Iron Hat and other places nearby. With no cars on the road, Francis Scott began to wonder if he hadn't missed a tribal emergency warning. He was just considering getting up and going to one of the no-flesh trailers to see if they knew what was going on, when a car appeared, coming from the direction of Kyle. It skidded to a stop even with him. The driver looked around in confusion, then used the cutoff to pull in, back up, and turn around. Francis Scott watched it go back the way it came. They must have forgotten something, he figured. Had to get back home. He craned his neck towards Iron Hat to the south and didn't see a thing. Soon cars and trucks began to come with more frequency, in 1s and 2s and 3s. But the odd thing was, they all stopped in the same place, turned around, and went back. It was as if on reaching the spot in the road, they received a warning on the radio to turn around. Once again, he looked towards Iron Hat. Nothing at all from that direction. Was there a chemical spill? He saw nothing on the horizon to prove the notion. He spoke for a few moments with the people in the nearest trailer. They hadn't heard of any warnings. There were no alerts. The only thing that confused them was that they claimed to have never heard of Iron Hat. 5 hours later, a feeling began to dawn on him. One he'd learned to listen to. One that had kept him alive on many occasions. It was strange being on the right side of things. Francis Scott, never Francis, had been largely misunderstood since Desert Storm. But that never stopped him from trying to be understood. His problem was he had too much time on his hands. He noticed things. And when he took the time out of his busy day noticing things to point things out to people who didn't notice things, they tended to dismiss him or not believe in him. Like the time he saw giant butterflies coming off the surface of Devil's Tower in Wyoming when he was out delivering a load of lumber as part of a tribal interchange. No one had even taken a second to think what he said was true. But he'd proved it. Sure, they had been skydivers freebasing off the top of the monument with butterfly pattern-shaped parachutes, but that didn't mean he'd been wrong. It meant he'd been paying attention. Or like the time he saw the herd of ghost buffalo stampeding from Custer along Highway 16, their rumbles like thunder in the middle of winter, hell's own sulfur pouring from their noses as they puffed their way down the iced roadway. Sure, it turned out to be actual buffalo who had run through 12-foot-high snowdrifts and been covered from horn to hoof by iced snow. But anyone seeing what he'd seen would have believed they were ghost buffalo as well. Or even like the time when he'd been in North Dakota on a 60-day work team at the oil fields and had seen several UFOs come, land, and remove cattle for some sketchy experimentation. He'd reported the information and had worked with a sketch artist to create a proper rendering. As it turned out, he'd been watching the events unfold over several nights on a drive-in movie screen, erected in the middle of nowhere by a Silicon Valley billionaire who'd created a reproduction of the drive-in from his youth for his own personal enjoyment, and just loved cheesy, cheap sci-fi movies from the 50s and 60s. Who knew there was a giant movie screen in the middle of nowhere? Was it his fault a billionaire wanted to recreate his youth? Still, Francis Scott Key Chases had been paying attention. He refused to believe that he was a poor witness with bad eyes and a loner's sense of the universe. He'd just been put in situations where his ability to witness was at odds with the curious folks and conditions that were presented before him. But now, he had witnesses. And now it seemed as if an entire town had gone missing. And it was only him who seemed to know about it. An entire town! Since when had that happened before? And he, Francis Scott Key Catches,